Year is 1985. There was a man called Michael Grading who thought he was clever to put Doctor Who on an 18th month hiatus, but that just caused problems with John Nathan Turner and his team. This video is on the original season 23, otherwise known as the lost season of Doctor Who.
Hello there, amazing viewers and subscribers, and thank you for joining me inside my beloved TARDIS. So for this, I thought for this video, I'm going to do a massive video on the lost season, aka the original season 23, as you can tell by that fantastic intro I made. I made that late last night so I can actually get to this video's point of view, and I think it's absolutely brilliant. So as I said in that intro, yes, Doctor Who was put on an 18th month hiatus thanks to the idiot known as Michael Grading. Because he actually wanted to put Doctor Who's budget into like EastEnders, and he suffered a lot of backlash, not just from Doctor Who fans, but also from the radio, because you had that charitable song Doctor in Distress with Colin Baker, John Nathan Turner, Nicola Bryant, you know, Anthony Ainley was there, and of course Nicholas Courtney and some other stars from Doctor Who were also there. This season, as I'm going to be talking about, is literally the season that was scrapped, because when Doctor Who did return for its 23rd season, it was on trial more ways than one. You had the show on trial, you had the Doctor on trial by the Time Lords, and luckily, we all know the rest is all kind of history, apart from Colin Baker kind of getting the sack after that season, because that was down to Michael Grading thinking, oh, a doctor should literally have 3 seasons, and of course, he thinks over that time period, Colin basically has 2 full seasons and 1 story in season 21, which is really, really bad for Colin, but thank God for Big Finish. So this season, season 22, would have had 6 stories. Like in season 22, where season 22 was 6 stories, this season would have 6 stories itself, which would have been called The Nightmare Fair, The Ultimate Evil, Mission to Magnus, Yellow Fever and How to Cure It, The Hollows of Time, and of course, The Children of January. Now, at the end of Revelation of the Daleks, the Doctor was about to say to Perry, because it was all edited out, where you kind of got Perry talking to the Doctor about after dealing with the Daleks, kind of how it goes somewhere fun, and he goes, all right, I take you to Blackpool. It was literally going to be, all right, I take you to Blackpool, but it was edited. He goes, all right, I take you to... Yeah, it was going to lead into the next story, which basically would have been the season opener. Basically, it is basically was going to be called The Nightmare Fair. Now, John Nathan Turner and his fantastic, amazing crew at the time managed to get permission to film at Blackpool. Yes, Blackpool Pleasure Beach. And of course, using one of the space rides, Space Mountain, where basically John Nathan Turner, Nicola Bryant and Colin Baker went to open up that theme park back in early 1985. Now, the news when it came about that this season was being axed, it was halfway through the transmission of the 2 Doctors. Yeah, I know. You're literally in the middle of transmitting a good multi-Doctor story with Centaurans. You got Omega, you got Death Star, you got Death Starry and all that, and then you get the news. Oh yeah, Doctor Who's been put on an 18th month hiatus. Yeah. So I thought for this video, and I make it quite interesting, and I always have been interested in this season. So thank you to TARDIS Database and Wikipedia, which are my 2 main sources that I've found out information about these stories, because I only own one of these stories through Target Book and CD, where basically other adaptations do exist, like for the Nightmare Fair, and of course the Ultimate Evil that does exist on Big Finish, and so does the Hollows of Time. Because 4 out of the 6 stories, because the only 2 stories that have had no adaptations as of yet in 2023 is Yellow Fever and How to Cure It and The Children of January. Yeah, so let's dive into the very first story, shall we? The Nightmare Fair. So, what can I tell you about the Nightmare Fair? Well, you got the Doctor and Perry on a holiday at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. A new ride has opened, but inside is an old foe to the Doctor. That's right, it is the return of the Celestial Toymaker, played once again, well, was going to play once again by Michael Gough, who originally played the character in the 1966 story, The Celestial Toymaker, against William Hartnell's first incarnation of the Doctor. Now, this story was actually going to be written by a former Doctor Who showrunner, aka Graham Williams, who basically was the show producer or the showrunner, however you want to say it, during seasons 15, 16 and 17 during the Tom Baker era. Now, this story has been adapted into a Target book and, of course, into Big Finish. So I still need to try and track these down. I'm after the Target book first before I get to the Big Finish adaptation of it, because I really like to try and picture it before I actually dive into the audio. I mean, it's a good way to try and imagine what happens in these stories. Now, this story was actually going to be a two-part story. Yes, a two-part story to open up a season. I like season 22. Now, I absolutely have loved to see the story. I mean, the opening story to season 22 was the Cybermen, like Attack of the Cybermen. So it would have been brilliant to see the return of the Celestial Toymaker. The second story of the season was called The Ultimate Foe. So, on the planet Trilliger, the holiday planet, Perry would have been attacked and left for dead, while the Doctor would have been temporarily under the dwarf mutant's power. Yeah, so Perry's been attacked, she's kind of been left for dead, and the Doctor's been took over by the dwarf mutant thing. Yeah, the Doctor would have used the Motron's anti-ray on the planet before he escapes. So basically, the Doctor uses the dwarf's weapon against him, instead of him destroying the entire planet. Now, this story was actually going to be written by Wally K. Daly, who basically has not written for Doctor Who. This would have been his very first story, and it would have also been a two-part story. And this story has been adapted by Big Finish, unfortunately, and I believe, yeah, Target Book as well. It has been released on Target Book, and Big Finish have adapted it. So I still don't own this story, even though it's the second story of the season. I actually don't own nothing about it. I've not even listened to it, so I'm really interested in listening, because I really like the idea of the Doctor and Perry going to Blackpool, being on holiday, come across the Central Toymaker, they go into a holiday planet, and then, yeah, this happens. Yeah, you can't get a break, can you, Doctor and Perry? Yeah, poor you. The third story of the season was to be called Mission to Magnus. So this story would have been a two-part story written by Philip Martin, who wrote the season 22 story, Vengeance on Varos, and of course it would have written in the next season, well, in the alternate season 23, Mind Warp. Now, this story would have been fantastic. I've got the Target book, as you can see here, so I actually do own the Target book, and I own it here on Big Finish. And my God, this has got to be my favourite story so far, what I have listened to for the original season 23. I haven't listened to any of the others, but I would like to say what ones I would have liked to see get made. So, the Doctor and Perry are travelling in the TARDIS where they encounter a former bully to the Doctor, the Time Lord known as Azran, who is going to Magnus to meet with Syl, who the Doctor and Perry defeated on Varos a season prior to this one. This story would have seen the return of the Ice Warriors. Yeah, so what it is, the Ice Warriors were basically working with Syl while Syl was there making this meeting with this Time Lord, and the Ice Warriors would eventually betray Syl because it's the Ice Warriors. You cannot really trust them, can we? Basically, they kind of want to turn Magnus's North-Atlantic pulse. So basically, it goes colder, so the Ice Warriors can basically have that planet to themselves. But they are stopped by the Doctor and Perry, and Syl is basically, he's just kind of there, you know. He's being this business partner, trying to get mission, like, talk to this Time Lord. I do like the way how you got the Doctor cowering. He goes, "You cannot see me! You cannot see me!" Like that. And you got the Doctor really high, and she goes, "Doctor, get up!" I really like the way Nicola Bryant does play Perry, and I really do like the way how Colin is really well in this story as well. The Big Finish story is absolutely done, absolutely brilliant. Now, as I said, this is the return of the Ice Warriors. The Ice Warriors haven't actually been seen on screen, and well, basically from 1974 in the Monster of Peladon. But unfortunately, because this season never happened, they were going to return in season 27, but because that Doctor Who was basically not cancelled, it just said it was going on a rest, the Ice Warriors were kind of put on the shelf until 2013, where they returned in Cold War, and of course in the 2017 story, Empress of Mars. This story, as you know, has been adapted onto Big Finish and Target Book. The fourth story, now this one really intrigues me because I really want this story to exist, because I think it would have been a fantastic story and absolutely brilliant. I think it out of all the stories in this season, this is the one I kind of want the most to get a Big Finish treatment. Hopefully, fingers crossed. So, yellow fever and how to cure it. This story takes place in Singapore, in China. And it would also have the Brigadier on holiday. So we have Nicholas Courtney back as the Brigadier. He's on holiday. This story would have basically featured the return of the Autons and the Master and the Irani. At one point, it was literally going to be the Autons and the Master, or the Autons with the Irani. And then John Nathan Turner decided that it would be the actual Master and Rani working with the Autons. Now, this story really would have been intriguing because it would have been absolutely fantastic to see the Brigadier and the Sixth Doctor to actually meet on screen. Yes, I know we get that in dimensions in time, which is a load of drivel. Don't really care for that one. I know some people class it as canon, some people don't class it as canon. I physically do not class that as canon because it has had no. If it was out on DVD or VHS, then probably, yeah, I would actually class that as canon if it was out on VHS and DVD. But because it's not actually out any media like on DVD or VHS, then I don't actually cast it as canon at the moment. So yeah, this story I actually kind of want the most because one, it's got the return of the Autons since 1971 in the Terror of the Autons. And again, even though this story did not happen, the Autons do return in 2005 in the revival, when in Rose, the very first episode. So yeah, they were still shelved like the Ice Warriors, but the Ice Warriors were kind of shelved for a very long time after the Autons' epic return. Now, this story would really intrigue me because I absolutely do love the Mark of the Rani. I love the way how Kate O'Mara and Anthony Ainley really get so well with those characters. I love the way how them two just bicker in the Mark of the Rani. So I would have loved that. Plus, it would have seen the Master basically have the Autons work for him once again, like they did in the Terror of the Autons. I would really love that story. I think that story would have been absolutely fantastic. The fifth story of the season was to be written by Christopher H. Birdmerd. Christopher H. Birdmerd. Now, Christopher has actually written quite a few Doctor Who stories. Like he written The Keeper of Traken, Logopolis, Castrovalva. He wrote a couple of more Peter Davison stories. I just can't think from the top of me. I think he wrote Kinder. And I think he written Snake Dance. I'm not too sure on them two. But I know he wrote quite a few other Peter Davison stories. So this story would have been called The Hollows of Time. So the Doctor and Perry are visiting an old friend, Reverend Foxwell, in an English village, where basically they come across tractators. Now, we all know the Fifth Doctor and Tegan and Tyler encountered tractators in the story Frontios, which was, I believe, was also written by Christopher H. Beard. So it basically sees the return of the tractators from his story for season 21. Now, the tractators, I really think these are like big, giant wood-lice creatures, and I absolutely love them in Frontios. And I really think I would have loved to see them return. Yes, I know it's out on Big Finish, and I do kind of want to track this down on Big Finish. This story would also be released in a two-part epic sort of storytelling, but it hasn't had no Target book adaptation, but it was adapted by Big Finish. So thank you to Big Finish. I'm going to try and track down this story, The Hollows of Time. And then, of course, the sixth and penultimate story of the season to close it. Now, this story would have been written by Michael Clan. Now, this story was to be called The Children of January. The TARDIS picks up a strange signal in an old English village. The Doctor and Perry arrive on the scene. They are a cult of deadly aliens on the loose. The Doctor must find and stop them from their intentions before people die. Now, this story really does intrigue me because this story would have been a 4-part story, which basically we haven't had a 4-part story since the Twin Dilemma at the end of season 21. So this story would have seen the return of a 4-parter, and I would have loved to see a 4-parter in the 45 minutes time period that season 22 had, because I really think it would have been absolutely interesting, because each episode prior to season 22 was literally 25 minutes, and then they changed it to 45 minutes. So you had episodes 1 and 2, Clan Beam. So basically each story of the season for season 22 was kind of supposed to be like a 4-part story, but actually extended. So you got parts 1 and 2 together, and then you got parts 3 and 4. So I would have loved to see this story, because thinking about it, you know, if they ever actually done that where you got episodes 1 and 2 together to make that 45 minutes time start, and then episodes 3 and 4 to conclude the story, Imagine a 4-part story like this in the 45 minutes run. It'd be literally a 6-part story, like from the Tom Baker and John Pertwee and the Patrick Troughton eras. This story has had no adaptation yet, so, and that is basically all the stories from this season. And to be honest with you, to find out 4 out of these 6 stories have had adaptations through Target Book or basically Big Finish through different types of media, it really does doubt me, because the one story that really does intrigue me the most is yellow fever and how to cure it. I mean, I would have loved to see a story setting Singapore with the Autons, the Master, and the Irani. I think that would have been a fantastic opportunity for a Doctor Who story. But thank you to Michael Grading, who basically put the show on a hiatus, and then when the show did return, it was on Trial of a Time Lord, and all of these stories was scrapped. Yeah. Thank you, Michael Grading, for doing that, because you have took away the opportunity to see some classic stories like the return of the Ice Warriors in Mission to Magnus, the return of the Celestial Toymaker, and of course, the return of the Autons with the Master and the Irani. And of course, the Tractators as well. So thank you, Michael Grading, for absolutely ruining that for us Doctor Who fans. Look, but thank God that 4 stories have been adapted by Target Book, all of course by Big Finish. Now, as you all know, I actually do own Mission to Magnus, so I do own like one of these 2 stories on both different formats, Target Book and Big Finish. The next one I am going to try and track down is definitely going to be the Nightmare Fair, because it is rumoured that Neil Patrick Harris will be playing the Celestial Toymaker in the 60th anniversary against the 14th Doctor. So instead of him having the Celestial Toymaker basically encountering the 6th Doctor, we had to wait almost nearly 4 decades just to see the return of the Celestial Toymaker, which was really planned for 1985/1986. But you know what? I'm glad the Celestial Toymaker is returning, but I am really not happy that we had to wait from 1966 to see his return, because the Doctor did say in his first incarnation that there will be another battle coming with the Celestial Toymaker. And it's took nearly, what, 56 years for that battle to finally come across again. Yeah. So yeah, for my thoughts on this original season 23, I wish it was made. I honestly do wish it was made, because it doesn't feel like a really bad season of Doctor Who. I really think this would have been absolutely, but I mean, I love the idea when you got the Doctor and Perry trying to go on holiday, where you go to Blackpool and then they'll go to the planet Troglyga, and then of course they go to Singapore, which probably would have been them trying to have another holiday. I really like the idea when you kind of got them trying to have a holiday and the Doctor and Perry are kind of thrown into these kind of stories where basically, oh, we're on holiday. Oh, great, we've got an alien threat to deal with. Come on, Doctor. No, it's time for another holiday. Oh, great, another alien threat to deal with. And another, oh, great, it's the return of the Autons and the Master and the Irani. Right, okay, then. I would have loved to see them stories. I really do. The one story I actually am glad I actually own is, of course, Mission to Magnus, because I absolutely love Sil. I think he was absolutely brilliant invention of Varos. I really think they lost that potential with him in Mind Warp, but in this story, it actually brings back the potential he had in that story, Inventions of Varos. He has so much potential, and then, of course, I believe that we kind of lost that in, you know, Mind Warp. But this story does kind of bring back Sil in the way he was in Inventions on Varos. So let me know in the comments, what do you think of Doctor Who, the original season 23 or the lost season? Let me know in the comments, what story would you like to see? Thank you for watching, and please do like, subscribe and share, and join me for awesome Doctor Who content.